same login credentials for both places, so that, one's not better than the other. It's maybe a matter of personal preference, but I'm just demoing from Connected Customer 360 just because it's easier to share my screen than on a smartphone app. So to get to where you would want to upload a service record, logged into Connected Customer 360, you'll go to Service, and then GD Connect Web Service Record Upload right here. You guys would always want to log in as a distributor versus an end customer. When end customers log in, they have a pretty limited view of what's inside GD Connect, so you always want to make sure you're logged in as a distributor. And it's a single sign-on, so as long as you're logged into Connected Customer 360, it'll take you right into uploading a service record. So what we typically do is ask a technician to complete this, obviously, but we've also made provisions for exactly what you guys are describing right here. So once you're inside GD Connect, really the only things that we require for a service record are in asterisks here. So anything that does not have an asterisk is not a required field. So I just grabbed one of your machine serial numbers, just a demo. So I just typed it in for the serial number. If you're on the mobile application and you have a QR code of the serial number, you can scan it also. So if, for example, if a technician was standing right beside the compressor, he could scan the QR code on the compressor, but you can also type it in either way. Brings up a whole bunch of information about the asset, service history, consumable parts. I mean, there's a lot of information that we make available inside GD Connect if you haven't been in here before. So there's a link to machine documents, there's oil capacity, consumable part numbers, the machine configuration as it left the factory, information about the warranty, if it has Icon and there's been any alerts, we have information about Icon, and then service history records, and we're constantly adding things here. So for example, if you had done a lubricant sample on this machine, you'd be able to see the lubricant sample results, and we're getting ready to add some more information about Icon. Not necessarily here to talk about, but I just wanted to show all this good information that's available once you get inside GD Connect. So this is what would be available to a technician, and anybody that would be scanning parts, all this information is available as well. So in this case, just imagine we were shipping some consumable part to this serial number to this customer. We have a drop down of types of service. So I think what we're specifically here to talk about is parts shipment to customer. So if we're going to be inputting the service record, whether that's Dave at a warehouse in Memphis or whether that's Chad in Little Rock, whoever's actually doing this work, what we're saying is that it would be, a parts shipment to a customer. We require current run hours. Now, this may be a little tricky because you don't have the exact run hours, but since it's a parts shipment to customer, I would just put as close as you possibly can. So I think this could be maybe an area where it could be part of the process, when we go to order the parts, to whether we collect it from Icon or contact the customer, however we want to try to collect hours. I know it can be tricky, but I would get as close as you possibly can on the hours. If you have hours loaded and unloaded, that's great, but it's not a need to have. You can see that there's no asterisk next to it, so you don't have to put loaded and unloaded hours. It's automatically going to populate with today's date. And then the only other required field is lubricant change. So if you say yes to lubricant change, it's going to ask you the gallons of lubricant and the type. If you say no to lubricant change, then you do not need to input the gallons of lubricant or the type. The final thing that we ask is to put the serialized part number here. So on each part, we have a QR code that shows the part number, and there's an alphanumeric serial number next to the part. So if you're using the, this is where it's really a lot handier to use the phone or tablet application, because then when you get to this parts section, it'll just open up your camera and you can scan that QR code on the part. But if you don't have it on the mobile application and you want to use it on a desktop or laptop, right here, you can also type in the part number with the alphanumeric serial number just as it is on the QR code on the part. So if I add, you know, a part here, and then I can add another part, so you can list all the parts that you're shipping to the customer. So again, kind of recap: serial number, it'll auto-populate your email address, parts shipment to customer, current run hours, it'll populate today's date, whether or not you change lubricant, and then scan the parts. For a technician, we encourage them to also give us any notes about the service visit, you know, especially if we're trying to substantiate a warranty claim, like found, you know, some seal leaking, et cetera. They can take pictures, attach it to their note. If there's any feedback from the customer, you know, they can populate whatever they want here, and we'll store all of this inside the service record for the future, for you guys and for the warranty department. But there's nothing required here, and I would say if we're scanning in the shipping department, there's really probably nothing necessarily needed to capture here. And then you can attach any files. So if there was something that you wanted to attach to the service record in Connected Customer 360, so say you had a invoice for the customer and you wanted to attach that to the service record, or whatever your process is, you could select choose file and attach whatever you want to attach. But all that we require, again, is just serial number, type of service, hours, whether or not lubricant was changed, and scan any parts that we're shipping to the customer. So I'll pause there for a question.
So if we do this on the front end for the parts, and then our technicians go out, provide the service, and they come back and they have all their check sheets and information filled out, then we can come back in, put in this serial number, and upload that additional information. It would just be a separate option for the type of service, correct?
Correct. And what you'd effectively be doing is creating two service records. I think with anything in the system, you almost can't provide too much information. So I think if we wanted to do it at shipping and then also upload a service record from the technician's information, it certainly couldn't hurt.
And do you need multiple?
But I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you're doing it in shipping, I think that's a good catch-all to make sure we're hitting every single asset that we're installing parts on, in case the technician forgets or whatever the case is.
Right. Well, and I can see the value of going ahead and getting the parts on there, and then when you upload the backup, then it's kind of it reiterates everything you pulled and everything you installed, and so it's kind of like your checks and balance on that part.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, can a service record be edited?
A service record cannot be edited. So that's a great question, Alan. So I would be, we encourage this. So we train on this in our learning management system training classes and in our in-person classes with the technicians. But really, we want to be as accurate as we possibly can, because once you submit the service record, you cannot go back and edit it.
I have a question right here. Yes, this is Mario. So in this case, the technician is not going to upload the service record. It's just going to be made at the office instead. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then another question that I have, probably the answer is no, but I just want to check with Brian. Can you merge service records, or they're just going to be separated the whole time?
Or are they going to be separate? That is a good question, though. We can take that as a follow-up if it's something we can pursue.
If you use,
I have a question.
okay.
Go ahead.
No.
You first.
If you scroll down to the service notes, I think it is.
Yes.
If you put in, all of our information is linked to a service ticket, and then from a service ticket it becomes an invoice. So if we put in the service notes that ticket number, is that something we can search on later to find all the records related to that service note, or is that a searchable field?
Don't know if we can search on the service notes.
Okay.
We can pull that up and I can show you what that looks like.
Okay.
And then I think two other things that I'm thinking about right now, batch uploading, if we could show that. And then,
Yep.
because I think we got a fair amount on the back end we'd like to upload. And I know there's a way to do it, but it's been a while since I